Welcome to the Spa Girls podcast, the self-publishing podcast for authors. You're in the right place for the best writing, marketing, and publishing advice, plus interviews with industry experts and best-selling authors. I'm Cheryl Phipps.
I'm Shah Barrett.
I'm Wendy Valla.
And I'm Trudy J. Welcome back to the spa, everyone.
Welcome.
This week we have an amazing guest. We've got Juliette N. Banks. Hello.
Hey, Juliet.
Hi, Juliette.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. Now,
But
Juliette's
people have got 5 Kiwi accents today.
All the Kiwis on today.
There's only one thing better than 4. It's 5. Just saying.
Exactly what you did there.
Nice.
So I'm gonna quickly read Juliette's bio, and then we'll get right into the interview because Juliette has lots of words of wisdom to share with us. Very excited.
No pressure.
No pressure. Juliette N. Banks is the best-selling author of 48 contemporary and paranormal romance novels. She's best known for her popular series, The Moretti Blood Brothers, The Dark Kings of New York City, or NYC, and The Dufort Dynasty. She writes steamy, page-turning romances with hot heroes you'll fall in love with. Juliette has a vast background in consumer marketing and was previously published with Random House. When she's not writing and publishing monthly or coaching other authors, she's at the beach or being a slave to her Maine Coon kitty. Maine Coons, is it really big, your Maine Coon?
No, I think she was the runt of the litter, so she's really tiny. I didn't know what she was when she started growing really long and got the big ears. But she's a naughty Maine Coon.
Yeah.
Aren't they all? I don't know. Are there any
that's true.
not cheeky Maine Coons?
That's true.
That's awesome. So Juliette, let's start off with, let's talk about your journey into writing and self-publishing. Could you just give us your origin story, where it all started? What drove you to get into this?
Every time someone asks me that, I have trouble answering it. And I think the reason is because it was never as deliberate as it probably looks. I have had a really amazing 35-year marketing career. And I loved it. I loved a lot of it until I'm 52, so I wanted to become self-employed, as a lot of people do at that tail end of their career, have a little bit more freedom. And the pandemic actually gave me that. So as you say, I had been published with Random House, and I really ignorantly thought, oh, well, I'll just start writing the books I really want to write, and I'll just get a contract. I thought it would be really easy. So in the pandemic, when I was having a lot more time, as we all did, I reached out to my publisher at Random House in New Zealand here, and they said, oh, we don't publish romance novels in New Zealand, and wished me good luck. So then I got on that horrible agent system, and I think I got about 3 rejections and thought, oh, this is ridiculous. I'm just going to self-publish. Best decision of my life, obviously. And so then I just spent about 9 months researching the industry, how the market worked. I had a bit of luck and formed a reader group of my own with about 200 readers who were very passionate about supporting me. And I was sharing all my work that I was writing for free, and they were coming on the journey with me. It was so much fun. And even after giving them the free books, they still encouraged me to publish. And in January 2021, I did. So that was fun and exciting, but I still never saw it as something that was going to be a full-time business. But equally, we were going through the pandemic, and I had been made redundant illegally, and there was a lot going on. But I was still writing and having fun. And then 18 months later, I was able to create a US 5-figure a month income that was very stable at that point. I can't remember how many books there were, about 15 or 12 or something like that. And I quit my job, and that was also extremely fun because it was quite a goal. So but saying goodbye to a 35-year career that was, very stable and something that I had always been was kind of equally terrifying. But I knew I wouldn't go back, and I guess here we are today, 48 books later. So crazy.
That's fantastic.
So that
With
first
a
book that you
reinvention.
wrote with
That's awesome.
Random House, that wasn't romance then? Was that another?
No, that was a non-fiction through.
Okay.
Basically, it was a PR tactic that I'd used in one of the companies I was working
Okay.
for.
Yeah.
But because I'd written a lot of the book, I was named the author, rightly
Yeah.
so. And but yeah, not everyone that keeps asking me what it is, but it's only also published and actually it's now unpublished, but it was only published in New Zealand. But that was fun because I got to have an experience of literally going into every bookstore in the country and seeing my book in there, and
Very
just even
cool.
as a marketer too. We got on our breakfast show in New Zealand. I was interviewed on the TV show, which was, it was a big deal, and didn't eat for a week and all those things.
I bet you're terrified.
On the telly.
Yeah. Oh, funny.
But,
That's
yes.
So, and then you said you were talking about your reader group. You found these 200 people. So how did you find 200 people that were
Yeah.
so...
Look, that was just a ton of luck, to be honest. So I was in a reader group that wasn't an author, it was just a reader group, but a fan base of another author. And so I was writing Paranormal Archangels, and again, like I didn't know anything and nothing. And I think I had about 3 chapters drafted. And I put a post up saying, would you like to test read some of it? Because I'd actually seen a few other people do that. I thought, that's a good idea. I'll get some feedback, because I knew my family and friends were not into paranormal books. And it took about 4 days for the post to be approved. And I was standing in the supermarket, 700 feet from the next person during the pandemic. And I was, reading my phone, bored out of my brain. And I got all these notifications saying hundreds of people had said, I want to read it, I want to read it, I want to read it.
Wow.
And I was like, kind of went into shock, like, holy golly. And, I thought, what do I do with this? And I just literally put my marketing hat on and went, you build your own audience. And so I literally one by one, I raced home, threw the groceries on the counter, sat outside. It was April, so it was warm here in New Zealand, and created this group, and then one by one invited them all and sent them a link. And I got 200. It was about 500 people that wanted to read it.
Wow.
And I only got about 200 before the group actually shut me down and blocked or removed the post. Which now we know readers are in multiple groups, millions, hundreds of groups. The kind of mentality of you're stealing my readership is kind of different. But like I said, it wasn't an author, but it was a fan base. So anyway, I was not sorry. And then I was trying to work out, how do I share it without worrying about copyright, and I was just kind of fumbling my way along, but it was a lot of fun, and it really did. I have had many of them say to me, your books and this group saved me during the pandemic. I mean, we all have our stories about, how we felt at that time, but we were all sharing this excitement about these Archangel books, which are now not in publication. If anyone's going to look for them, that's a whole other story. And but we had a lot of fun, and actually I created this big board where I printed out images of the characters, and I had things like people like workmen come in the house and kind of do a double take at these 6 shirtless men with these things, and I would share that sort of stuff with my readers, and they just thought it was hilarious, and I was embarrassed, and it was fun. So we saved each other and got all of us through this crazy time.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was a real bonding time in many ways. I mean, it was a terrible time, but there was always it's always a silver lining, isn't there, to some of those
100%. Yeah,
So-
it was really hard, but it was great. And for me, it did end up a wonderful story. So
Yeah, that's the thing. So that's interesting. So you started out writing paranormal, and now you have your mafia / billionaire books. Am I picking up all the...
And I've got military.
Military, yes, the SEALs, that's right.
Yeah, billionaires.
So I was going to ask you, like, you've got them all under the same name. Was that done on purpose? And how do you deal with those two genres? Is there a sneaky marketing trick that you're using, or is this just how's that work?
So I looked at it so my background in marketing is extremely broad, from product to communications to brand. And so I looked at it kind of a little bit single-mindedly initially, because I was like, I don't want to be marketing 2 brands, because remember, it's like my growth has been substantial and very fast. And so I was like, I don't want to be managing 2 brands and growing 2 brands. So I'm just going to do it as one, because even though I was listening and learning to what people in the market were saying in this industry, I also was looking at, my experience of 35 years and going, I'm going to do this my way, because I also hate rules. So if you give me a rule, I'm going to probably try and break it.
That's awesome. I love that.
I started the Billionaires. Actually, even the Billionaires, which was I don't have it here, Sinful Judy, which is my first contemporary book. That was a story that, the one that you have to write, like, it was just this nagging character, and I was really excited. And actually the heroine is a Kiwi author who goes to Hawaii, and that's something that I do a lot. So there was a lot of me in it, meets this gorgeous, powerful CEO from New York. And yeah, beautiful things happen. And actually that book, when I got a BookBub, had 50,000 downloads when it went free as a BookBub, and hit on the entire Amazon store and all the retailers very, very quickly. So for me, it was great. This is working. And I knew that I was probably going to want to write more contemporary once I'd started becoming an author and really figuring out who I was. But I have 14 books in the Vampires series, so there's still a lot with that one. And I also like variety, so I was like, well, I want to write mafia now. I'm reading a lot of dark romance, and then I was like, if you actually look at all my books, if you know them and you read them, there's a real alpha warrior main character to all of them. So military was an easy transition, and that's this one here. And so he had also been a character that was in a couple of the other series. So creating that and selling that to my readership was actually very easily. And that one, if I could just pat myself on the back, was a BookBub last month and has now had over 80,000 downloads in just
Holy cow.
Wow.
No,
so
that's huge. That's huge.
So it does kind of reassure me that, I'd made the right decision and doing the right things. But, you don't know. It's
No, you
Can
don't.
I just ask, is the heat level the same through all of your series?
Yeah. Some of them are slightly darker, but I'll call that out in the book description. I'll say this is like this one here, which is kind of obvious. So it's a praise kink one, but it's part of my Billionaires series. They're all very spicy, but the ones with like a kink in it just go a little bit spicier or but I'll call it out in the book description so it's fairly obvious.
That's cool. That
so
works.
For me, the only disadvantage of having one pen name is I can only get one BookBub a month. If I had 2 pen names, I could get 2 BookBubs. And so that is something that I do think about every month. Damn it, I want 2 of these.
What I really like about what you just said, it was as how you're sort of saying this advice that happens in the self-publishing world, and then there's your knowledge of marketing, and instead of just blindly following the advice in self-publishing world, which it does get to be a bit of a silo, like someone decides a piece of advice and then everyone just picks it up without actually kind of going, actually, is this true? So
is
I
it
love
true
the
for
fact,
everybody?
Exactly.
That's right.
And that's the one thing that we do know. We do know from the podcast is that there's so many different journeys and so many people doing things in a different way. And I love that you used your background in marketing to make that decision.
And I think that's the difference, though, because I have been guilty of giving this advice in terms of if you're going to a separate genre, then 2 pen names usually make sense. But the difference is that you considered that, but you put thought into it, and you didn't just do a knee-jerk reaction, and you also knew that there's always pros and cons to no matter which way you go, kind of thing too. So I think the difference is in that is ignore the rules, but kind of know why the rule was there in the first place. What you can
don't be immature about that. Like, literally go, okay, well, I don't want to be told what to do, but I want to sit there and go, okay, let's think this through. But that is the experience that I have. With it's the same with direct sales. At the moment, I'm not doing direct sales, and a lot of people are asking me why, as if there's some special secret that I know. But for me, I know the work that's involved, the money it requires to drive people to the website, And then the impact that's going to have on the algorithms on your book retailers, that you're taking away those sales from there. So there's two things that I'm looking at. And look, I was moving house, buying a house, and going overseas this year. I mean, I know people think going to America is not a big deal, but ladies, can we tell the world how big a trip it is to America?
Huge deal. Big trip.
35 hours.
Yeah. Wendy's just come back and is,
Still recovering 2 weeks later
Yeah.
from the longest flight of my life.
Anywhere from New Zealand. The only place that's not is the islands or Australia. Everything else is a big
I regularly go to Hawaii and I'm like 9 hours there. I can still hit the American shots. But Florida was 35 hours coming home, and I've heard it's 1 day for every hour, and it's 18 hours difference. So on the 18th day, no joke, I was like, actually feel better today.
I know, it just takes it out of you. It really does.
And then we had daylight savings. So
yes, the weekend I got back.
That's handy.
So those are the three reasons. I knew that there was a lot on my plate this year. I've also published monthly, so that's an enormous output. Direct sales, still not sure whether I will do it, to be honest, but possibly. It's on my possible list.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So you publish monthly. Can you tell us, so how long are your books, and how fast are you writing these books? How much talk about your process there a little bit for us.
So my vampires are longer. They're around between 75 and 80. So that is always a hefty month when I'm writing one of those. One of the reasons I've slowed them down, but also my strategic plan and release and stuff, and for my contemporaries. The contemporaries are around about 65. Some of them have gone a bit bigger, but between 60 and 70, let's say. So they're still pretty decent length novels. My process is pretty much just, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, within reason.
Within reason.
Maybe not that one.
The F word, but every now and then Wendy just lets fly.
I don't say the F word.
No, I'm not saying you do, but she has some.
Wendy.
I swear like a trooper in mine.
Oh, okay. No,
that's
seriously,
fine.
it's literally being. There's no room for procrastination. I set up my books with a timeline, like this is the date, this is my edit deadline. I have to meet it, because otherwise the other ones don't get written, and everything's on pre-order. My strategy is heavy pre-order, so readers are waiting for that book. So I work out how many words I have to write each day, and I write those words each day. And if I don't, then I know I have to make it up, and that's when the pressure puts on. Now, I've heard people say they would hate that pressure. The pressure actually works for me. If I don't have a reason or that pressure, I will just flounder and fluff around. I am a true creative living in my head, and I will just mess around and play with the cat and decorate my house more and spend more on more furniture or whatever. But so that deadline but I'm extremely structured and organized. So it's this clash of things. So but I think that, again, my background, not even the fact that it was marketing, but because as a marketer you're very much project managing things, so being very structured and organized, and just having to keep to a timeline.
Well, you say a book a month. If you're talking like an 80K book, that's kind of like 20K a week, but where do we fit in the editing and the proofreading of that?
The editing happens very, very fast. And I've had people, make past judgments about the quality with these things. But if you have people work in different speeds. So one editor is going to want to work for weeks on your book. Another editor is going to work fast like me and be able to do that in a week. So that is what we do. I have people in my team who thrive on a passionate, energetic business, and they do a fantastic job. So I write. So I have worked at different speeds at different times, as we all do. I think the one I did just before I left for Florida was this one. I wrote and revised it in 3 weeks. That is probably the fastest book. So that's how fat it is. 12 font. It's not 16 or 20 font. and then it got sent to the editor. So generally I'm just trying to think, because it's not like the first you start writing and then on the 31st you publish. It's, you know, it's ongoing. So generally I give myself about 21 to 28 days to write it, and then, because you remember this has kind of been built up over time.
Yes.
And then while I'm writing the next book, the editor is doing her bit.
Gotcha.
So every month I have a launch. So I'm writing the book in the month, whether it be 3 or 4 weeks, and then the editor has about 7 to 10 days, and then it's being formatted. Really, the process for the book's journey is about 5 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
how much of your time is spent writing, and how many words are you writing a day? And then you're doing the marketing.
Yeah.
How does that work?
I aim for about 3,000, but sometimes that can be 0, sometimes it can be 5,000. I tend to, even, you know, when you have those days and you're on a roll, once I get to about 5,000, I actually try and stop myself, because what can happen is then I will feel a bit lazier the next day and not write as well. I used to get real excited, I wrote 12,000 today, but that actually, when you're doing this every single day, that's not actually smart. If I get on a roll and it's like, this is magic, I will keep going. But the other thing was that I started to find my health was impacted, because it was, you know, I'd missed dinner time, and apart from the cat, I have no one here to say, hey, listen, you've got to go to bed, or you've got to eat, and all those sort of things. So, which is great. It's fantastic. It's quiet and I can do what I want. But, you know, things like eating at 9 or 10 o'clock at night can, you know, that's not healthy. It has a health impact. And then you don't wind down, you don't sleep, and you wake up at different hours, and it's just a spiral. So, yeah, again, it's just been incredibly structured and looking after yourself, I think.
Do you structure your time off, like weekends? Do you have weekends off, or do you work on the weekends?
I do. I have to publish that. I try and have 1 day off a week, but I'm still running the business.
Yes.
And I'm still kind of, it sounds crazy after 48 books, I'm still trying to work that out, because when I have time off, then I go, oh God, I didn't do the social media, or now I'm behind. Now I'm going to take 2 hours to do this. I'd only allocate an hour. So, but I have to admit, I'm not very good. If my PA is watching this, she's going to be going, I'm not very good at outsourcing stuff. So, but I just, you know, there's some things like publishing the book, like loading those up into book retailers. And I just think, you know, for us as wide authors, we have a lot of those places. And I just think if someone's going to mess it up, it needs to be me. I don't, you know, there's, as you guys know, when you're putting those things in stuff, sometimes there's little things that come up where you think, I'm going to tweak the blurb, and then you go through into all the others, and oh my God. And so there's just, it's, I definitely would say, you know, when people ask me, I just say, this is not a balanced life. If I was younger, if I was married, if I had children, I definitely wouldn't be doing this. But my driver was to buy this house. As Kiwis, you understand the cost of buying a home in New Zealand, and staying self-employed. And at my age, I'm like, this is now my retirement plan, and to be successful, to create the income that I have, which is now a multi-6 US income a year, which is I never dreamed would be possible. And my current strategy is regular release and building up those series, and I have first and series free. So there's a momentum in that. And it's not just maintaining that income. I'm in a really rapid growth. So my income is literally doing that. And it has done for nearly 4 solid years. So it's not like, doing it just for no reason. There is a very specific reason behind why I'm doing it.
Yeah. And is it something at some point where you will stop writing 10 books a year? Is that, or are you just going to keep on going to your 65?
Actually, it is 12 books a year. I have, although I did release last month. I'm not releasing this month, and I'm really nervous about it. Yes, but I was going to do it next year. And then it hit me, because I've been so sidetracked with buying a house and moving and the US trip. I actually haven't shifted my strategy to do it. So you can't just go, I'm going to do this. You actually have to have a strategy. Unless I want my income or my growth to kind of not even, I would say slow, not plateau. And also then I was like, oh, I've got these new theory ideas. And so when I guess I'm in a little bit of a momentum, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to have to do that one there, then that one there, and I need my next vampire book, and so that one's coming in here, and then I'm like, oh wait, now I'm publishing every month again.
Yeah.
But there's an excitement to it, right? So
Exactly.
so there's a bit of yes, I need to slow down, but I really love what I'm doing, so I don't want to.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do you
well, if you're
plan
still
out at
loving
the
it.
beginning of the year, Juliet? Do you have like a sort of like a paranormal, this series here needs feeding, and this like, because how many series are you writing at the same time kind of thing to feed?
Yeah, so I do. I have a strategy plan for my business. I have a marketing plan. I have an advertising plan, and then I have my book plan. And it's a little, because it's moving so fast. I'm making decisions. I wouldn't say on the fly, but I'm making them as I'm watching pre-orders come through. So I have 5 series. Only one of them is complete, and that is my Billionaires. But I have the second Billionaires, which is a family that got introduced in them. That third one is being published next year. Whether I continue that one or not, I don't know. I have 2 new ones coming in. So I do. The Vampires are 14 books now, and that one is, much to my readers' disgrace, is actually going to be wrapping up, but probably not until 2026. So it's like I can't keep coming up with ideas. The whole premise of that series is that they are trying not to be exposed to humans. Like 14 books, how many storylines can you come up without digging deep? So every time, and then the readers leave it, they're like, oh, you need to expose them, and then I'm like, yeah, but then what will the story be? So so it is, but I like that because I wouldn't say bored, but I like the variety. The only thing I think is that I went from third person to first person, which I now prefer only slightly writing. So sometimes if I go from a vampire third person to my military first person, there is a little bit of a going back and correcting things, because I keep kind of jumping in between. So that's probably the only thing that that bothers me.
So, because now you'd mentioned that you've got them on pre-orders, and I went and checked on Amazon, and usually it tells you can kind of see the most popular books by an author because they're the ones that get recommended first. And I noticed that 3 of your pre-orders were the ones that were being recommended first. So I'm assuming that they are doing very well in terms of your pre-orders. Do you have a pre-order strategy or anything that you're doing?
Everything I do is driving pre-orders. One of my weaknesses is not doing a very good job at actually post-sales. And I'm aware of that, but because I'm on to my next book and I'm writing that and I'm talking to my readers, I'm sidetracked and not hungry, I guess, because the sales are really well. So I'm very aware that I'm leaving a lot on the table, and I'm not doing a lot of product extension with translations and stuff like that. So there's still a huge amount for me to be capitalizing on. But pre-orders, yes, because my back matter is doing most of my selling. My books sell my books. And my bookbubs do their magical job, but they drive pre-orders because I get those people into that series, and then they are heavily buying pre-orders. But my pre-orders now, I would say, are probably 80% of my sales. But it's interesting thing about ranked, looking at rank, when you're a wide author, the rank achieved on the day doesn't calculate your pre-orders. So I look like I'm a pretty small average author, whatever the judgment is that someone's going to put there, but it's so so that's the side effect. But as we say in the wide world, rank over rank, so whatever.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Rank ain't buying your house, right?
No.
It's actually what's in the bank.
That's right.
So that's intriguing. So then you do have this opportunity down the track when you wanting to, if you ever want to slow down, sounds like you're loving it. You will have the backlist, you will have translations, audio,
all those direct, all of those things.
All those things to kind of expand out into. That's
well, no, I'm probably going to be doing much of that in the coming year. So I think Shah, you asked before, I'm working on strategy now for January and starting to line things up. So yeah, every year, just naturally about this time, I start going, right, what's happening next year and what am I doing and what series am I going to be doing? Although that is something that I think about every day. And that's something that I would, if there are new authors listening, I would say, every day looking at your numbers and questioning what you're doing and in a good way, like, is this the right thing? Is this, what's happening out there in the market? That every day, whether I'm aware that I'm doing it or not, I'm constantly doing that.
In terms of your loyal audience, and you've obviously got a great connection with readers, do you find that you have sort of separate contempt versus paranormal, or is there just basically a massive crossover between your particular audience?
I have been questioning my group about this recently. I'm like, why don't you read vampires? Curious, because I do have a lot that actually went from my vampires to my contemporary, and then a lot that have met me through my contemporary and then tried a couple of my free vampires and then become loyal fans of that series. And when I asked them, it was so amazing that they were so honest, and they said they thought vampires were scary. And because I think, maybe certain age groups, I don't know if that's correct, but the old vampire movies and stuff,
absolutely,
kind of horror-ish. And the amount of readers that have emailed me or messaged me or commented on a post and said, so I tried the Vampire Prince and oh my God, I've now read 3 and I didn't sleep at night, and those wonderful comments you get. So because so I think one of the things with my paranormal is it's predominantly focused on this alpha dominant detective, male that all the butter that the readers love. Is very little about fangs and blood and stuff like that. They're just a group of warriors in a royal family that have this underlying storyline going on about not being exposed to the human world. But they're meeting their fated mates. And so it's really, apart from the fact that they have fangs occasionally, and honestly, I probably mention it 3 times in the book. I'm probably like the worst vampire author ever.
It doesn't sound like it.
No, it sounds like you're doing okay.
But maybe vampire light, shall we say? And I mean that in a very complimentary way. But
maybe I should put that. But it's really the same vibe, the same steam as these other books. They're just a little bit sexier and hotter.
Wendy's got the saying, she writes Regency romance, and she's got I'm talking as if she's not here, she's actually
I'm not
here.
I'm just
but she's got her Sinclair and Raven series, which have sort of super paranormal power, shall we say, but it's not so much that a contemporary or a historical romance reader wouldn't still be able to enjoy them. And I think that's the secret, right?
I think so. And I would love to somehow be able to package that up and share that, because I think more people would read paranormal. I mean, one thing I didn't know, of course, that was sitting in my ignorant days, was I didn't know that paranormal was such a small category. And going back to why the Archangels are not published anymore is because I didn't know that Archangels were so hard to market, and I still don't understand why. But
I think there's a small but loyal audience. It's just but you never know. Particularly, we're so driven these days for things like on streaming services. There's going to be a series that comes out, and then suddenly everybody's going to be wanting angel books, kind of thing. So
I've seen a couple of big authors doing some vampire romances, and with J.R. Ward's Passion Flicks series coming out, and there was the new Twilight. I think they've got a new series coming out. A new movie coming out.
Oh, really?
And I'm like,
the Twilight one. Really?
There you go.
Yeah.
What are they going to do?
Is it Edward's point of view?
Really?
Okay.
I know these things. I do love vampire romance. But so who knows? It could be a little bit of a boost
little
for
research.
the subgenre.
Okay.
Wow.
That's cool. So you've talked a little bit about the fact that you've got this marketing background. Do you think, are there any decisions other than the ones we've already talked about that you've made that you think are different to another self-publisher, like things, okay, what I'm thinking is, like, I went to your website, and your website is is beautifully presented. It's
thank
exactly
you.
what it should be. The covers are great. You've got everything sort of all your ducks in a row. And is that something that you came out of the gate with, or is that something you've had to learn? And do is that because of your marketing background, or how
Yeah,
does that?
definitely. I think just understanding. I mean, communications was what I really did, was my expertise. So understanding, even social media, I think. Now, I wouldn't say my social media is excellent. In fact, I've got a really small social media presence compared to, I guess, the success of the business from a numbers perspective. But with my tiles, I think, my understanding message priority, like you'll look at them and you'll see pre-order and the date is really bold. I see that really tiny on other authors' tiles, and I go, like, for me, that represents what my strategy is. I want them to know the date. I want them to know I'm saying to them, I'm telling you, tell your customers what you do, what you want them to do. Pre-order now. So I think, there is, I always used to say I hate selling. I never wanted a sales role, but that's really what I'm doing all day, every day. And so I think being confident in being able to say that, like, I think, knowing the tactics, I think, and I was going to say this near the end, but I think my greatest advice always is, as a result of observing the industry, people go in there, they think they're doing marketing. Well, marketing is not Facebook ads and it's not social media. They are tactics of marketing. So going and doing a course outside of the industry with, an accredited organization, and learning the principles of marketing, that will get a broad understanding of how it all pieces together. And your Facebook ads are one of your tactics that you'll use. Social media is a tactic that you use. So don't know that it's something that I'm specifically doing. It's more the big picture, understanding how all the jigsaw pieces fit together. And I think that is the thing that I have, that I'm kind of, even because I've been doing it so long, it's nearly like a subconscious thing that I'm doing. I'm not even probably aware. Even, when we're just talking about the movies and stuff like that, that's market research. Knowing those things is market research. Like, how many people are going onto Amazon and Apple and Kobo and Google and looking at what's going on and what other authors are doing, what are they doing with their covers, and then making your own informed decision. Would I like beautiful, discreet covers? Heck yes. Is that the right thing for my business right now? No, because that's going to take a huge amount of my time, and I can make more money by writing a book and then launching it. Then, and yes, someone else is doing it, but you still have to spend the time to project manage that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so true.
So I think it's a broader answer as opposed to one or two little things.
Can you talk us through your release, how your release strategy and things like what you do leading into a release?
Again, it's really heavily pre-ordered. So if somebody really wants to sort of study that, if they go onto my Instagram, it's probably the quickest and easiest way of doing it. You have a look at, I'm normally talking about 2 or 3 different books that are coming up and driving those pre-orders. And then I'm likely to be launching at the same time, doing a countdown. It's actually not that complicated, but the broader sales funnel is complicated, and how they all work together and how my series cross over. The back matter, look at authors' back matters. There's a lot of information in there if you're not getting sell through. Like I say, my books sell themselves, but it's not just the back matter, it's the hook in the story. So reading, and if you're an author and you want to be successful, you want to sell books, read in the subgenre. Like this is, I was doing coaching for a little while, and by the way, I'm not doing it at the moment. But one of the things that I was finding is that authors just were not reading other authors' books. But there's so much information in that, because it triggers your creativity. You can start, the little bits of butter and going, oh, that's how they've done that. The hook. I think, I don't know if I've done it excellently in every single book, but I have done it pretty well through most of my books, and I can say that not humbly, hand on heart, because my sales are telling me that.
Exactly.
That's right. That's right.
Proof is in the pudding.
So again,
can you pull apart the hook? So are you talking about the hook in the book, or your hook at the end to get them to the next book, or what are we?
Well, one thing I used to do in the beginning was I do them. Well, I don't. That's a lie as well. I've always done it in all my books. I don't know why I started doing it, because I didn't know what I was doing when I did it. Again, actually, someone said to me a few years ago, "You probably did it because you've been reading romances all your life." And I thought,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, that's probably right.
Yeah.
So I have the meet cute happen in the book before,
Yeah.
and so you go. It's not a cliffhanger. So the difference between a cliffhanger and that hook, the couple has a happy ever after, but the couple from the next book, their hook happens there. So, and it may not even be a true meet cute. It can just be one line, and I've done this in my current billionaire series. They just the conversation between the boys are about, so the next hero is an NFL player. He's just been drafted, and then the conversation is about something about him getting groupies. They were kind of teasing him because my guys have a lot of banter, and then one of his brothers makes a comment about a girl who is going to be the heroine, and about I can't quite remember the line. I'm sorry, but 48 books. But and it just makes you go, what?
Yeah.
Who is this? And it's just a kind of
it's a little signal in there.
enough that you go, this is going to be trouble.
And romance readers will recognize that, right? We will all recognize that, because you're almost looking for it. And so when it delivers, it's like, okay, here we go. You know,
it's obvious as hell, but they want it, and
absolutely.
And that's why I don't arc my books. I beta read my books with my VIP crew, and they will say it. They will tell me, oh my God, I can't wait to see what happens with ABC.
Right.
If they're saying that to me, I know the hook is strong.
Got you.
If they just go, yeah, I can't wait for the next book, I go, okay, that needs to be stronger. So
that's good. See, that's the power of having that kind of a reader group / beta readers there to let you know, because sometimes it's not that easy, especially at say 48 books to kind of tell that. Yeah.
And they are reading the book unedited. That's how much trust I have in them. It's only a small group of, I think, 4 or 5 people, and so there's a lot of trust and faith in them. I mean, I absolutely trust them, but they're reading it unedited and knowing that there's going to be changes, and it's self-edited. I do a couple of self-edits before I send it to my editor, so it's not completely rough.
completely raw.
You
can understand it.
I'm assuming that you're quite a clean writer in terms of, you're not finding,
I wasn't in the beginning, but I am pretty clean now. I literally write the whole story, and then I go through and I do what I call revisions, which is starting from and literally going through and just completely, it's not rewriting, it's just tweaking it and polishing it. That's my process. That's it.
Are you a plotter when you start, before you start?
No, I was a complete pantster when I started, and but that's slow for me. I mean, there's parts where I pantster and it's faster, but I go plot, pantster, plot, pantster. It's a pain. I have to replot and replot, because I think I don't like lots of detail. I'm not a detail person, so I come up with this plot and then I write that plot in the first 20,000 words, and then I'm like, what's happening next? Damn it. So
that's good. I'm sure that there'll be lots of people that are non-plotters that will be cheering, knowing that you can still produce that many books without having a.
But again, so here's a really big tip that I have to, and I literally I can pace this house and go out of my mind doing this, but if I find that I'm slowing down and I know I have to replot, and you know how you can start floundering and procrastinating, that's when you've got to go, okay, get really hard on yourself and go, get pen and paper and start writing down where you're going next, or do it on your computer, however you do it. Use your phone, microphone. But it's asking questions. Literally, questions are the most powerful thing in the universe, as far as I'm concerned. What's happening next? Where are these people going? What is the female character here? Just ask questions, and then your brain naturally answers. It can't not answer. It always looks for an answer. The brain doesn't want no answer. So to ask question, and next minute you'll be like, boom, and as soon as you know what you're going to write, you start writing again.
Sigh, I'd love to be like that.
Well, there you go. Now you know how it went.
No, there's no way. I've tried. I'm nearly at close to 70-ish books, and there's no way. I just I've tried every plotting way there is to plot.
Oh, so you just pantster constantly? Look, I prefer panstering. If I like, get to the point where I can write 2 books a year and had 6 months to write a book, I would pantster. It's just so much. It's just so light and enjoyable. So
Well, I don't know about that, to be honest.
Yeah, there's still a pressure.
I might question that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And Wendy's not writing 2 books a year. How many books do you write a year, Wendy? 6?
Not as many. Yeah, 5 or 6. Yeah.
Still a lot of books.
It's still a lot of books.
Every 2 months. So, so I was going to ask. So you mentioned before, like you're just telling people, right? Like the pre-order. You were saying make the pre-order big, the date big. And I think that's something that a lot of people, or especially authors, are tripping up on. They're kind of like, they almost like whisper. They're like, oh, by the way, I've got this book for sale. Like, so
it's so true, right?
Like, I don't want to bother you, but can you just
excuse me?
Possibly maybe like if you've got some time.
If you can.
Buy my book.
So not to be afraid. I want you maybe talk about that, like how, like we always hear that 7 touches before someone will buy, and in fact we had someone on who said in this digital age it's close to 30. Someone has to see your book 30 times before they'll even think about it if it's new to them. I'm meaning whereas I know you've got this loyal readership who are buying these, creating that, but how do you feel about that? And talk about this whole just putting it out there thing.
Well, I am a very direct person, so I don't have a lot of problem. But also, when you've got bills to pay, it's like get people to buy your book, but you're backing yourself. Like, but here's the other thing. Unless you've nailed it on TikTok, or you're already a huge author with a big readership, social media doesn't sell a lot of books, honestly. Social media to me is it's brand presence, it's communicating with my readers. I do it, but I just I don't. So yes, get out there and back yourself. No one is going to believe in you and your books more than you are. So be bold and all the rest of it. But I keep going back, circling around. Go and learn the marketing principles and partner and collaborate with fellow authors and share. Your newsletters and your books will sell more than anything else. And look, I know that a lot of authors probably listening are doing click ads. Again, that's not something that I do, so I can't speak to that. But your newsletter you own. People talk about this all the time. Social media is not a platform we own, and we can lose our presence, or who knows, or over the years we've all seen nightmares happen. So I would say focus less on the social media, but yes, go and look at authors that are selling books, but just again take that information away and sit there and go, is that where the books are being sold? And I go back to what I say, unless you're nailing it on TikTok, and even then you've got to be careful, because what's going to happen with TikTok? So you don't want to be putting all your eggs in one basket, which is why I'm a wide author. But your database you always own. So building that database is really important. So understanding marketing principles and how all the tactics available to you. And one of them is a sales funnel. So if you don't know what a sales funnel is, go and Google it. But again, I would say go and invest in a marketing course. Once you know all of that, then you've got the knowledge base of a marketer, such as myself, and then you can look at all the components of a sales funnel and marketing tactics and can be putting lots of things in place. So if one of them falls over, then you're not going to be literally, I see people going, oh my God, I've lost my TikTok account and now I won't be able to pay my mortgage. Like, that is not smart business. I don't care whether you're selling aeroplanes or books or toothbrushes. That's not smart business.
So the idea of a sales funnel is having multiple places that you're that people can find your books.
It's getting a customer to come into your sales funnel and then directing them to do what you want it to do. And that might be through a newsletter, it might be through social media, it might be through your book and then clicking to go to Amazon or Apple and buy it. It's whatever you're telling them and direct them to do in that pathway. Fundamentally, but don't just take that like literally. I want everyone, if you're someone trying to grow your business, whether you've got $1 million or $10 from Amazon this last month, go and do it, because you can have a lot more if you're not doing that.
And can I just say too, that information is readily available online, and I think you're right. You wanted to, or in books, going old school, but it's the library.
But
marketing books is, like you said before, about whether it's an airplane, a toothbrush, or a book, the same principles apply. And I think that people can sell some really, really, really expensive advertising courses for books, but the fundamentals are still the same for so many products. And so and I can learn a lot of it for free. A lot of it is so you don't have to spend tens of thousands, is what I'm trying to say here.
I would recommend people going outside of the industry and looking for a course that is, like I say, accredited to learn marketing, not how to be an author and earn $1 million. Because that was, as we were just saying, that's how they did it. And maybe they started 15 years ago. And we know that the authors that started a long time ago have bigger audiences, have bigger readerships, same thing. Possibly, I don't know about sales, but you know what I mean? Like, if I had started, 15 years ago, I'd be in a different position than I am now.
Exactly.
So, because the market is more flooded and many variables. So, and what works for them probably won't work for someone right now. Someone starting now, I mean, I lucked out getting that group, that was that did elevate me very quickly.
But I don't think it was luck, Juliette. It was luck that you made. And you still delivered, and you still connected with them, and you still delivered ultimately the story that they wanted, right? So I think there's no shortcuts here, people, is what we're also saying.
No, you're right. That's right. I could have been a terrible writer, or not known what to do with it. And those 200 people would be a dead group. That's a really good point.
Exactly. So are you approaching other authors? You're talking about newsletter swaps. You obviously do that. So do you have a specific go-to list every time you release that you say, here's my new book? And
we work with a wide range of authors because I have multiple subgenres. And I have a PA who does that, but we look at the people that we're swapping with on a regular basis, because you don't want to be doing the same people. You're exhausting your exposure in those lists. But also getting a bookbub every month, which, thank you, bookbub. I love you so much.
Same. It's our friend.
We love BookBub. So of course that's it might be a free, it might be a 99¢, it might be a military, it might be a vampire, and so who we're swapping with is different. And as I've grown, I've been able to swap with bigger authors and bigger lists, which again I'm incredibly grateful for. But collaboration is great, and the best advice I would give with that is reach out to the people that you're confident to reach out to, the authors in your area. But as you've got to be growing your list, because what people are looking for is a really good quality list that's growing in numbers. So you've got to be doing tactics to grow that database, and you'll grow and you'll start swapping with bigger authors, and again then you're reaching bigger audiences and selling more books. So again, that's just part of that sales funnel.
Do you have any good advice in terms of how to grow your list, like the things that you've done that have really worked?
So if you're not on BookFunnel, get on BookFunnel and then write some bonus material. There's a little bit of a trick to doing that. I don't know that I've done it all that well, to be honest. Are you asking for your readers in the back of your book to join your book club? The only disclaimer to that I would say is the first and foremost thing you want them to do is to buy your next book. So don't do it as the first thing, but maybe it's the second or third thing that you're asking them to do. Again, go into authors, buy authors' books or download their free books and have a look at what they're doing in that back area. Don't just skim through. You need to be studying these books. So bonus reads, I don't know that grows at all that rapidly, or maybe I'm just not that good. I'm not very good at writing short. Oh, don't know if that's true either. I'm really hard on myself, so I can go around and
We all are.
But yeah, bonus material. I have been invited to some anthologies, which have been really great. I was this year I've been part of the Billionaire Book Boyfriend group. Thank you to the authors of that group for inviting me to that. That is a monthly database builder. It's all of these things. Again, that's why I keep saying think broadly. Go and get those marketing fundamentals, because you start understanding how building your brand and everything that you do every day. And as your sales grows, people start recognizing what you're doing and they want to partner with you. And be professional. And my background is professional, and I swear in my books and post some stupid stuff at times, but being a professional in what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, if you're being hooked into the author dramas and the toxicity, whatever platform, here's the number one thing you can do. Walk away from the computer, put your phone down, walk away. It's like a game of tennis. If you hit back, if you comment, it just keeps the game going. Just walk away from it. It does not exist if you don't give it focus. And people are watching and listening. So just that's childish high school stuff anyway. Just keep away from that stuff. So all of those things are really important. People want to partner with you if you're a professional, if you're showing that you're doing great work. And tell people what you're doing. When I get bookbubs, I'm telling people that I'm doing it. If I get 80,000 downloads on my book. That was so exciting. Tilly, my Maine Coon, is not interested at all. So I'm telling people on Facebook. But also because people are going, okay, they see that and they go, okay, this author's doing really well. Because there is no one in HR going, you've done a really good job today.
Yes,
exactly. Let's go through your performance review now. You've met all your KPIs.
No.
Exactly. So do you, and I'm guessing I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask the question. So you're obviously a wide author from the start, from the get-go. That was part of your strategy.
Yes.
In terms of who you're working with, whether it's book swaps or working in anthology, are you also seeking out other wide authors for that too, exclusively?
For what?
For when you're working with other authors in terms of newsletter swaps or
No, so my PA does that for me. But I actually, if it's a new author or someone that's I think maybe doesn't know who I am, J.K. Rowling probably doesn't know. I wouldn't never. But no. So I'll just think. I think it's, again, this is the professional in me. I just think, I don't know that I want my PA to do that. I might reach out because it might just feel like the right thing to do. Again, just trusting your instinct on that.
And they're wide authors as well, Juliette. They're publishing wide too, though.
Oh, I see. I used to be really strict on that and say only wide authors. Okay. But actually, the more I understand the market, and I think this is just more a time thing, the more I understand that readers, and this is how I look at it. I don't know if this is correct. I go, you've got really strictly wide authors, maybe they're readers, maybe they read on Apple, and so that's where they're going to buy. And then you've got readers who read across multiple platforms, including Amazon, but they buy and have a subscription. And then you have only the readers that have got a subscription and they will never read anything else. So swapping with KU is something, for authors, is something we do, but we will be looking at a lot of factors in that. But we're certainly not opposed to it, because I think there is there's a reach and readership for us. But again, it's also just getting people to see So it's because they can get a lot of discounted and free books from me, because that's my strategy. Just about every one of my series, I'm going to hold this up for reference. Just about every one of my series has a free book.
Yeah.
Not that one yet.
So those KU people are still going to get those free books. You know what I mean? Like, they've still got access to them, I should say.
I mean, they can get that free book or that 99-cent book. The chances of them buying the 99-cent one is still a little bit high, but they can read the free book. And hopefully, if I've done my job right, they're going to go, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy the next one because I like it that much. Because we know that consumers do that. If we step outside the book world, when you go to the supermarket and they give you the sample of the crackers and you go, but I eat Arnott's or Huntley Palmer's or whatever, but oh my God, this ABC was so good, we're going to buy one now next time we're here, because we munched on those watching The Bachelor or whatever. And you know, so that is what consumers do. So that is why First in Series Free for me was the strategy that I knew I was going to take, because doing analytical click ads, I would rather vacuum, and I hate vacuuming. So and it's not a skill I have. And so, you know, you've got to look at the skills that you have. And if you don't have the skills, you either have to outsource or you have to upskill. But that's whatever the businesses. Again, airplanes, toothbrushes, or a book.
So true. So wise. Absolutely.
Brilliant.
That's awesome.
Brilliant advice.
And I feel like we might be coming to the end of the interview time here. We can keep talking for another hour, honestly. We're gonna stop you there. But I just want, you said that you gave your nugget of gold earlier in the interview, but I just wondered if you've got any last piece of advice that to leave our readers with, if maybe they're just starting out or they're wanting to know where to go next, something like that.
Look, I think taking action is probably the most important thing. Whatever you do, start, because you can overthink things and get yourself into a state of fear or inaction. And we're all capable of doing that. But one of the disheartening things, I think, is, you know, if you don't have business skills, whatever those business skills are, airplane, toothbrush, or book, you've got to go and get those skills, because otherwise you're going to not be as successful as you want, and then you're going to say, I'm a failure at being an author. And when we hear that and when we see that, we think it's about the book. But your product creation is one thing and running the business is another. I literally split my day in half. When I get off this call, I'm going to go and do business stuff, and then at about 2:00 this afternoon I will start writing, because that's what works for me. So I am creating a product. I'm always working on my product being better, and so look at it as two different things. So what are you good at? What are your weaknesses? Outsource or go and train to be better. And again, if you're earning $10 or $1 million a year, I think in airplane, book, or toothbrush. So that's that is really the best advice. And I think I probably thought about 1,000 things that I wanted to say with my little team, but I think those are fundamentally the truth, really the hard, cold truth.
Brilliant.
We like the truth.
Yes, that's right. It gets results.
Yes, exactly
right. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today on the Spa. We've really appreciated it. Really appreciate all the information you've given us. So if someone wants to find you or your books, where's the best place to go?
My website, www.juliettbanks.com, or I'm on Facebook, Instagram. Don't go to my TikTok, please. So I look forward to connecting with more people.
We'll put all those links in the show notes.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. It's just been so awesome. Really and if you want to come and join the Spa Girls, I'm going to do our first port of call, just like Juliette said, which is come along to patreon.com/Spa Girls podcast. And you can buy us a coffee. We fight over them, so it would be even better if you went.
We could buy 4.
Yeah, we could buy 4. For a mere $10 a month, you can join us in our Spa Girls Superstars of Self-Publishing Facebook group, where we discuss all the things and we work together on blurbs and cover advice, and you'll get lots of opinions, not just ours. And it's a great place to be. So come and join us there.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
Thank you. And thank
Awesome.
you to
Thank
all of
you,
our
ladies.
listeners for joining us for another episode of the Spa Girls podcast. We'll be back again next week, but for now, farewell.
Bye-bye.
Keep well.
Bye.
Bye.